Okay, so now that we've successfully blacked out our shapes, we're gonna detail and shade them right now. And first we're gonna start on the axis handle. And as you can see, I have grouped the handle, and if we double click right here, you can see that it's on a group, and this can help us properly manage our shapes. So now we're gonna be designing the handle here, and I'm just creating a shape that will serve as the thickness of the handle here, and I'm just aiming to make it look round. So I'll just make this shape right here. I'm just gonna select them both and use the shape builder tool to trim the excess part. And as you can see, we have the handle here, and it gives you an idea that it has thickness because you can see the bottom part of the handle. And now I'm just gonna create the texture for the wood by creating these long streaks of shape, or this will serve as the cracks for the wood. And we're gonna turn them into multiply by pressing Shift D on your keyboard. And if you have no shortcuts, you can just go to Window and show the transparency window so that you can easily turn your shapes into multiply. And I'll just continue to create the texture right here. And again, I'm pressing Shift D on my keyboard because I've set up a shortcut for it. Or you can just use the transparency panel. And I'm just gonna finish off this part right here. And as you can see, we have an excess shape that we need to remove. And we can actually use the bottom shape or the base shape we created right here to use as a trimming guide and remove the excess part of the streaks of shape we've created. So I'm just going to select them both, and I'm just going to trim it like so. And as you can see, we were able to trim the shape right here by using the base shape so that it was not affected. And now we're going to add more detail to the wooden handle by adding those highlights under the darkest shapes, or the shapes right here. So now I'm just drawing shapes where I think the light would bounce from the wood. And you can also observe other images so that you can see how highlights are really made. And as you can see, I'm just creating the shapes for the highlight here, and I'm just gonna turn them into screen mode. And then I'm just gonna trim off the excess part here by using the shape builder tool again. And we're just gonna add some subtle effects for our wooden handle here. So what I usually do is I just use the pen tool, or you can press N on your keyboard, and then I just scribble on the top here. And also I'll make this into a screen mode, which will also serve as a subtle highlight for my wood. And then I'm just gonna use the shape builder tool to remove the excess part. I'm just gonna do the same thing for the bottom part. So I'm just gonna scribble here again. And then I'm gonna turn this into multiply and then lessen the intensity by setting the transparency to a lower value. Okay, and now that we've finished shading the handle, we're gonna go onto the blade now. And if you can see, if I double click on the blade shape right here, you can see that we've already pre-grouped it. And now we're working also in isolation mode, and I'm just creating the shape for the sharpest part of the blade here, and I'm just gonna use the shape builder tool to remove the excess part again. And this time we're gonna add more shading to the blade itself to make it more realistic. So I'll just double click on the blade here again, and I'm just gonna draw this highlight right here to make the mount part more rounded. And then we're just gonna add the bevel for the blade part right here and turn it into screen mode and remove the excess part using shape builder tool again. And we're gonna do the same again for the bottom part of the blade. Then just trim the excess again using the shape builder tool. And we can also add more highlight on the top part of the blade here. And make sure to put it into screen mode again and use shape builder tool to remove the excess part. And we're gonna do the same for the bottom part, but this time we're gonna use multiply instead of screen. And again, just use the shape builder tool to remove any excess part. And so that we can see the blade better, we're just gonna add a temporary background here. So I'm just gonna draw a square here and just turn it into a dark brown so that we can actually see the blade better. And I'm just gonna continue to detail the bottom part of the blade here. And as you can see, I'm just adding the thickness of the blade right here. And I'm just gonna turn it into multiply mode again, and then remove the excess part using the shape builder tool. And you can also change the intensity of the shading on this part. And I'm just gonna create another shape here to reinforce the rounded effect that we're wanting to create for the blade mount. And we're just gonna turn this into screen mode again, so that it will serve as a highlight also, but in effect it will make the part right here more rounded, so that we can fake that it's wrapping around the wooden handle. And now we're just gonna create the shine effect for the blade. So first you gotta go into isolation mode and double click the shape. Then we're just gonna draw straight lines here, or you can use rectangles for the highlight that we're gonna make. And I'm just gonna turn this into screen mode, so that they will serve as the reflections on the blade, and trim the excess part with the shape builder tool again. And as you can see, I can change the highlights intensity by using keyboard shortcuts. And if we want to make quick changes on our blade's final shape without having to redraw all the shape or the outline of it, you can just use the direct selection tool or press A on your keyboard. And then we're just gonna make a selection of the anchor points or part of the shape that you want to edit. And we're gonna use the rotate tool and plot our pivot point there. And just rotate your selection as you see fit. So in this case, I'm just gonna move it a little bit here. And I'm just gonna select the bottom part here also. Use the rotate tool and then plot our pivot point. And you can tweak the overall shape of the blade. And to finish off the shading process, we're just gonna add the highlight on the top of the blade here again. So I'm just drawing the shape for the highlight, and then I'm just gonna turn this into screen mode again, and select both the blade shape and the highlight shape, and use shape builder tool to remove it. And I'm just gonna copy the color value of our new highlight and sample it using the eyedropper tool, so that both of these highlights right here have the same blending mode and color value. And in the next video, we're gonna add more details to finish our game prop right here.